Good morning, YouTube. It is a bright, sunny Saturday here in Boston. It's also quite cold, 25 degrees Fahrenheit this morning, which is about 4 degrees below 0 Celsius. But I did get out and get you some footage this morning. I'm here to tell you about the memorial to the 54th Regiment and their commander, Colonel Shaw. February is Black History Month here in the United States every year, so I wanted to get out and show you at least one of the many things that you can visit on the Black Heritage Trail here in Boston. If you saw the 1989 film Glory, starring Denzel Washington, then you know the story of this famous regiment. After signing the Emancipation Proclamation in 1863, which officially ended slavery in the United States, President Abraham Lincoln was convinced to allow the formation of regiments of African American soldiers to fight in the Union Army. The regiments were still intended to be segregated from units of white soldiers, and they were intended to be led by white officers. The Massachusetts 54th was the first of these regiments to be formed. They were put under the command of Colonel Robert Gould Shaw, a white officer whose family were prominent abolitionists. Confidence in the abilities of the African American soldiers was not high within the Army as a whole, but Colonel Shaw argued that he and his troops should be allowed to lead a major charge on a southern fort. Many of the soldiers died in the charge, and Colonel Shaw himself was killed, but as a whole, the unit performed heroically, and their example led to the creation of further regiments of African American soldiers. By some estimates, 10% of the Union Army was made up of black soldiers by the end of the war. In 1865, Boston businessman Joshua Benton Smith proposed the creation of this monument. Mr. Smith was not only a businessman and an African American, he had worked for the Shaw family in his youth. Planning and fundraising for the monument apparently took quite some time. The commission for the sculpture was not awarded until 1883, 18 years after the end of the Civil War. When finally awarded, the commission was given to Augustus St. Gaudens, a prominent sculptor. St. Gaudens did not complete the sculpture until 1897. Although aware that people were anxious to have the sculpture completed and on display, St. Gaudens justified the amount of time he took for the task by referencing the importance of getting something right that would last for so many years. And indeed, the sculpture is considered one of the first representations of African Americans that is not based on stereotypes, but on observation of real people. St. Gaudens recruited a diverse variety of real African Americans to pose for the sculpture. As you can see, the monument sits on the edge of the Boston Common. It sits right across the street from the state capitol. On a personal note, this is the first time that I really had a chance to look at the sculpture up close and in person. Because it's on a busy sidewalk, many other times that I've been in the area, there have been so many other people around that it was difficult to get a good look. This morning, the cold weather kept a lot of people indoors, and I took the opportunity to get really close. It is a completely gorgeous and stunning piece of work. It is well worth your taking a few moments to visit it. On the side of the monument that faces the Boston Common, the names of the fallen soldiers are inscribed, and St. Gaudens's work of depicting real people at a time when African Americans, even in the North, even after slavery, were still subject to all kinds of racist stereotyping. It's really beautiful. And if you're visiting Boston and you're aware of the Freedom Trail, which covers many of the sites that were important to the American Revolution and the history of the colonies, it's worth your knowing that the Black Heritage Trail also exists, that it begins in the same area of downtown Boston, and that it contains sites that everyone should be aware of. Beacon Hill, where the state capitol sits, is a well-to-do neighborhood these days. But in the 18th and 19th centuries, it was much more mixed in economic background, and there was a large African American community on the side of it facing away from downtown. Many of the other sites on the Black Heritage Trail are thus on Beacon Hill, on the far side of the hill. And while the geography tells you something about the way that American history segregated American citizens from each other, even after slavery had formally ended, these days a lot of those important sites are so close to each other and so easily accessible that it's worth all of us getting to know them and to understand their history, and to carry on the work of those brave people